My, oh my, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. My name is Mark Farzy. This is the Farzy Show presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. What a weekend for the fighting Phils. I woke up this morning just excited, just flat out excited. It's so much better when your team wins, like emotionally in your life. It's just so much better when they win. And then when they win in dramatic fashion and they take 3 of 4 from the San Diego Padres to make themselves even more so wild card contenders. Now, there's a couple of things that go into this. One, yes, the Phillies are hot. They feel hot, baby. They've been hot. They've been one of the hottest teams in baseball. Second hottest team in baseball, as a matter of fact, since June 1st. We'll get into that story. We'll also talk about another team that's been pretty hot as well, and it's a team that the Phillies are chasing in the NL wildcard standings right now. But I got to say, when I look at this weekend and I look at how all these games played out, I think of a word that Rob Thompson used to describe taking 3 of 4 to the Padres in the fashion in which the Phillies did. Because you think about it, game 1 they lost, of course, 8-3. Game 2, they had to come back and win. They had to put the starters in at game 1 of the doubleheader, and the starters ended up pulling it off, and Bryce Harper came up with the game-tying hit, and then Kyle Schwarber and Trey Turner came out there, and they handled their business. Then in the second game of that doubleheader, game 3 of the series, they got to come back. Well, that was the more comfortable win. They come back, they win that game 9-4. And then, of course, yesterday they have to come back, lose that lead, go 5-5. They got to go into the extra innings there, and it goes a couple of runs scored there in the extra innings, and then they win 7-6 with another game-tying hit. By the way, that one coming in the extra innings by Bryce Harper. So a couple of comeback wins in this regard, and then the one that wasn't, unfortunately, the 2 that weren't. One was a loss, and then the one was a 9-run performance there by the Phillies. But Rob Thompson used a word when he was asked about, hey, what was this weekend like for you? Tiring. That's what the weekend was like. Tiring. And I'm exhausted from watching the bouncing ball in 4 games, especially watching that doubleheader. And then yesterday, waiting with great anticipation for the weather to clear just enough for the Phillies to get a game started. And when they did, the Phillies make sure that they knotted up their victory yesterday for their 51st win of the season. A pretty incredible thing to watch the Phillies play baseball right now. And the number one thing that does come to mind is just overall excitement. And the thing that really does stick out to me is that Bryce Harper finally broke the very unfortunate streak of 38 home runs 38 games between home runs. And I was talking to you guys about it on Friday morning. Bryce Harper's last home run on that May 25th game against the Atlanta Braves, he blasted a slider 445 feet. If you would have told me that there was going to be a huge power outage from Bryce Harper for the next 38 games, for the next 166 plate appearances, I would have said you were crazy. Look at that home run, 445 feet on a slider. Again, it wasn't like a 100-mile-per-hour fastball that he just clocked and hit at the right time, and really the pitch did most of the work. No. He muscled a 445-foot slider, 81-mile-per-hour slider out of the park. To see him hit that home run on Saturday night, it felt like not only a huge weight was lifted off his shoulders, it felt like a weight was lifted off of Philadelphia, because any Philadelphia fan, any Phillies fan knows they're going to need a huge second-half push from Bryce Harper throughout this second half of the season if they really want to make the playoffs. Now, you can have other guys step up, sure, but there's just something about Bryce Harper being able to carry this team when other guys might be hitting a little bit of a wall. Nick Castellanos looking at you right now, Scooby-Doo. But if Bryce Harper can start carrying this team, and a couple of game-tying hits for the Phillies over the last couple of games, that would certainly help the Phillies' cause. So Saturday night, he hits that ball out of the park into the hands of Craig Kimbrell in center field, rounds the bases, and then gets iced in the dugout a little bit there. They give him the silent treatment. Then they celebrate. He forgets to acknowledge the bullpen, and if you didn't see it, it's on my timeline there on the old Twitterverse. Bryce Harper picks up that phone and calls the bullpen to say, hey, whatever, sorry about that, or nice catch, Craig Kimbrell. I don't know what it was, but whatever it was, you saw him having fun with it. You saw the bullpen having fun with it. You saw the clubhouse looking light, and it looked like this team was about to do something special. And then they won the ball game. Then they went on to win the last game of this 4-game series, take 3 or 4 from the Padres. I feel like this team is going to do something real special. there's something about knowing you have that chemistry in the clubhouse. And there's another example of it, too. Yesterday, Bryce Harper hit a double that put Trey Turner. Trey Turner was on first base. Harper hits a double. He looks up, and much to his dismay, he sees Trey Turner standing on third. Now, yeah, we know that they're friends, okay? We understand this. But to see Bryce Harper breaking the stones of Trey Turner for not scoring on that hit was hilarious. And you saw Bryce Harper at second base acted like he was like on a walker or whatever. Like, what, are you too slow these days? And he's like hobbling around second base there during a break in the action during a timeout. And Trey Turner's laughing at him, and Dusty Wathan's laughing because he's like, well, I wasn't going to send him. Because in fairness, it was a bullet off the bat of Bryce Harper into right field. It wasn't like a slow roller to the wall where Trey Turner can score. But even with Trey Turner's speed, you hit a bullet to the wall, he's not going to score from first on that particular hit. So Trey and Bryce were having some fun with each other on that particular play. And I'm like, these guys are keeping it light. They're keeping it loose. And they're a half game out of the wild card after the weekend. And this is what's funny. The Phillies right now, if you look at the standings, the San Francisco Giants have also been one of the hottest teams in baseball, unfortunately. But that's where we're at right now because the Giants, listen to this, 5 wins in a row for the Giants. Now, the Phillies have been the second hottest team in baseball since June 1st. The Giants have been the second hottest team in baseball since May 1st. They're 41-25 in that time. The second best record in baseball to only the Atlanta Braves. Now, the Phillies have the second best record in baseball since June 1st. You know that's second too as well? Well, yeah, that'd be the Atlanta Braves, unfortunately. So the Phillies continue to win. The Giants, unfortunately, continue to win. And the Marlins might be hitting a little bit of a schneid with the Diamondbacks hopefully dropping out in the not-too-distant future. But that's where we are right now. Now, the good news is that the Padres, after this series especially, don't appear like they're going to be much of a threat down the stretch. They could get hot. They got the talent to get hot, and who knows, maybe they do. But as of right now, if you see it again, Padres all the way down. They 8 games out of wild card contention right now in the National League. So the Phillies did themselves some favors here. Now, the Milwaukee Brewers are a team that's coming in here, coming to Philadelphia after beating up on the Cincinnati Reds, who everyone thought, oh, it's another incarnation of the Big Red Machine. What are you going to do? Well, the Brew Crew handled their business in Cincinnati on this road trip that they're on, and they just swept the Reds out of Cincinnati. So it's going to be a very interesting series here for the Phils. And if they keep on keeping it light, if they keep on keeping it loose, then the Phillies are going to have themselves find themselves back in the playoffs for a second consecutive year, something we have not seen in Philadelphia since the days of Roy Halladay, since the days of Cliff Lee, since the days of Cole Hamels, Chase Utley, Ryan Howard, and all that. And by the way, Chase Utley in the booth yesterday was fantastic. One of the things I really enjoyed was the little shot they took at Nick Castellanos, and Utley did it, I think, unknowingly, because he thought when they were talking about the sport of cricket, and of course Nick Castellanos swinging at a ball that landed 3 feet in front of home plate. That does kind of remind me of cricket. For those that don't know cricket, I think you at least know that. They try to hit a ball off the ground, basically. The hurler. The hurler? I don't even know what it's called. Hurler bounces a ball to the batter, whatever he's called, and he tries to protect the wickets, the wickets, whatever. Those things. Those little poles sticking up out of the ground. So they're talking about that on the broadcast yesterday. And it's like, oh, Chase Utley's like, oh, well, he's at least got a hit out of it, right? They're like, oh, no. He did not get a hit out of it. One thing I could listen to all day is Mike Schmidt and Chase Utley talking about hitting and talking about their compact swings and all that and how they swing down through the zone and all that stuff. I could listen to that all day. And you know what else I could listen to? I could listen to them talk about Bryson Stott and what Bryson Stott's career is going to look like over the next 10 years, for instance. And Mike Schmidt has talked about it on a number of occasions, how Bryson Stott reminds him of Chase Utley. And yesterday he got to ask Chase Utley about his thoughts on Bryson Stott. And Chase never likes to talk about himself, and I think anyone that followed his career understand that. And I got to be honest, I got to tell you a little fun factoid about myself here that involves Chase Utley. He was my first ever interview in the professional realm. Fresh out of college, my first interview was with Chase Utley. And I remember it was at the Roosevelt Mall in Northeast Philadelphia, and he was doing an appearance, signing autographs and all that stuff. And It was my first or second day on the job there at WIP. And one of the things was going out there as a promotions kid, handing out T-shirts and all that stuff. And they're like, "Oh, you're going to interview Chase Utley before you introduce him to the crowd." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, just interview Chase Utley. Okay, no big deal." So I interviewed Chase Utley. And, it was quite the time. And even then, in a mall appearance where everyone is just dying to see him and everyone loves him and he can say nothing wrong, he just didn't want to. He did it, but he didn't want to do it. Like, it's just one of those things where if you're doing an interview with somebody, it's like having a conversation with someone and knowing they have something to do. Like, I should probably just let this person go. That's kind of what it was. And didn't want to talk to the media. And yesterday, I thought it was hilarious that John Kruk told the story of Chase Utley being in the Phillies clubhouse and Kruk working at ESPN at the time. And they're like, "Yeah, ask Chase if he'll do an interview." And he's like, "Okay." He's like, "Chase, I know the answer is no, but I have to ask. And to be honest, I just want to be honest and go back to my boss and say that I asked. Just, do you want to do it? No, you're not an interview. Okay, thanks anyway." And that was the end of it. And then, of course, Utley is in the booth yesterday, now as a baseball ambassador in London. And he's talking about spreading the game over there in the UK, which is a beautiful thing. And I know UK Phillies are having a great time with it as well. Our man Dave Shaw. But listening to Chase Utley talk about Bryson Stott and listening to Mike Schmidt talk about Bryson Stott and what that guy's future holds here in Philadelphia, it was a wonderful conversation, and I really enjoyed it. I hope we hear more from Chase Utley down the line if he does ever come back to Philadelphia for whatever reason it could possibly be, even if it's an ambassador to baseball here for the Phillies. I don't know. It'd be nice to have him, and I thought he was great in the booth. I talk about this phrase a lot, and it's the fightin' Phils, right? And I know that's a phrase that we talk about often. It's even what we call the post-game show there on the Jacob Media YouTube channel, the Fightin's post-game show. To look at this team and see how they fought in game 2. Now, granted, you could say that the starters weren't starting the game, the first game of the doubleheader. Well, the starters eventually got put in the game, and it was close enough where the starters could make a difference, and they made a difference, whether it be Bryce Harper's game-tying hit or Schwarber giving them the lead or Trey Turner adding onto the Phillies' lead there in game 1 of that doubleheader. Then in game 2, they come out, and they just absolutely blow the doors off of the San Diego Padres. And it was a beautiful thing. They just kept on tacking on to that lead. And then yesterday's game, you come up with a big hit from JT Realmuto to give you a 2-run lead. And then, unfortunately, that goes by the wayside in the 8th inning of the game. And the Padres have themselves a time. And they tie things up. And then they got to force extra innings. And the Phillies just keep on fighting. The Phillies go down in yesterday's extra innings there by a run. They're able to fight back with another game-tying single by Bryce Harper, and then they win it on Kyle Schwarber's walk-off sac fly RBI to left field. They just keep on fighting, and they have each other's backs in a way that any winning team needs to have their teammates' backs. Perfect example is Jeff Hoffman comes out of the bullpen yesterday. And a couple people messaged to me on Twitter when I was listing my things that I really, wanted to talk about the game. People were like, "Oh, don't forget about Jeff Hoffman and his 2 scoreless innings." That's great, and it definitely deserves to be acknowledged. But even Jeff Hoffman knows he needs to go thank Trey Turner for what he did at shortstop, okay? Because Trey Turner fielded that ball off the bat of, was it Sanchez? Diving to his left. He doesn't dive and catch that ball out of midair. The run scores from third, and the Phillies possibly go on to lose that game. They end up not scoring in the bottom of the 10th inning, so it makes all the difference in the world. So him making that play, Trey Turner, saved Jeff Hoffman's hide because that ball was tattooed. And if Trey Turner doesn't make that play, then we're not offering any accolades to Jeff Hoffman, unfortunately. So, yes, two scoreless innings are 2 scoreless innings. The infield playing exactly where they should have been on that particular play helped Jeff Hoffman out tremendously. And I've offered more praise to Jeff Hoffman this season, I think more so than most. But still, an integral part, yes, in how the Phillies won that game. But they just kept on fighting. They kept on finding ways to have each other's backs throughout this entire process. And yesterday, one of the guys that we need to talk about is Zach Wheeler. Because, no, it wasn't his most perfect start. It wasn't his best start as a Philly or nothing like that. But to finally go in the realm again with Zach Wheeler, where you get back into the 7 innings pitched role, and it was 3 runs on 5 hits. He did give up 2 home runs, 7 strikeouts, did not issue a walk. He hasn't issued a walk now in 3 starts. for Zach Wheeler there, which is great to be able to say that about a guy that's supposed to be a number one starter, especially when you're talking about a guy that's going to be carrying a very heavy workload for you, especially in the second half of the season. But that was over a month between 7-inning performances from Zach Wheeler. And one of the things you've been able to say consistently about a guy like Zach Wheeler or a guy like Aaron Nola, even though they haven't had their best stuff this year, they have still been able to at least eat innings. Now, yes, I am the guy that continues to say that's not a brag about guys that are supposed to be 1 or 2 in a rotation. It's not, oh, you're eating innings. Cool. You're not getting blown out in the third inning. Congratulations. But they come out and they give you the innings tonight, or yesterday rather, and they come out and they only allow 3 runs. And a guy like Zach Wheeler, to see that kind of start for him is great. You think about 3 innings or 6 innings that he went against the Marlins in the 4-3 win for the Phillies. You think about, you go back to the Washington series, unfortunately, where it was a 19-4 game. He goes out there, 5 innings of work, 4 runs allowed. Before that, 5 1/3, 5 runs allowed, all of them earned. And then you go to Oakland, 6 innings. He works through 107 pitches, 0 runs allowed. And, of course, before that, he was pretty good in his previous 2 starts, only allowing 1 run apiece. But Zach Wheeler needs to start like this. I am very curious to see what you get from Aaron Nola tomorrow when you open up this Brewer series. How about that Julio Teheran, by the way? The Phillies are going to be facing in game 1 of the series against the Brewers. I know that you could harp on Bryce Harper. You could talk about Trey Turner. And seeing him do that behind the back, whatever the hell that was, I could definitely do without that. In game 1 of the doubleheader on Saturday, he acknowledged after the game that probably wasn't the best play to make. He didn't think he could get the runner there at first base, and he had to go with the behind the back play to Sosa. That was just boneheaded play. That was just a stupid play, and I know it hit Sosa's mitt. I don't put that on Sosa. That was Sosa's first time at second base this season, and Trey Turner expects him to expect a ball from behind the back when the easy play is right in front of him at first base. Anyway, I digress. You look at this series, and you look at the Phillies, a guy like Trey Turner, who is struggling for consistency on the good side of things this season. You can look at a guy like Nick Castellanos, maybe hitting a little bit of a wall here, got a break yesterday. That was good. Pinch hit appearance, but that was that. Ended up grounding into the double play off the mound. But if the Phillies are going to have guys like Castellanos slump a little bit, if they're going to have a guy like Yohan Rojas trying to figure it out in center field while they're waiting for Christian Pache to get a screw removed from his elbow, if they're going to be waiting for guys that they have relied on this season to come up big, and they're going to be hitting those lulls, then one thing you got to be able to fall back on is your starting pitching. You're going to have to rely on a guy like Ranger Suarez again. You're going to have to rely on guys like Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler to make sure that every 4th and 5th day you have a guy that is ready to go in your starting rotation at an ace level. And hopefully this is Zach Wheeler shaking off some rust. Hopefully this is Zach Wheeler refocusing. And I can only hope that tomorrow night, really, we see a version of Aaron Nola that we have seen for the most part of his career. Mostly throughout his career, we have seen a guy go out there and you can have a lot of confidence in him. There's been ups and downs, ebbs and flows, no question about that. But the Phillies can somehow get this consistent hitting and have this pitching turn around to the point where you can really rely on your starting arms again, then it's going to be a clear path to the playoffs again. Yeah, sure. You can talk about a team, again, like the San Francisco Giants that are going out there and they're handling their business, of course, every single night. And you can talk about them since May 1st and how great they have been. And I mentioned the numbers to you. But you have a team like the Giants, they're going to stay hot. You have a team like the Marlins, maybe they hit a little bit of a wall. And then the Diamondbacks get out of your way. And next thing you know, you're going to be up there. For whatever reason, and I know everyone was talking about Arise and how great he's been for the Marlins and how great a year the Marlins have been putting together. And the Phillies are just right there on their heels, and that was not thought to be the case. And I know it's not going to happen against the Phillies because the Phillies just can't seem to find a way to be able to beat the Marlins. But maybe the Marlins are a team that just hits that wall. And maybe the Marlins are a team that won't last in the last 2.5 months of the season to be an extra competitive team. And that's what I'm going to be hoping for. It's going to be hard to bet on it, but you're going to need to if you're going to expect the Phillies to make the postseason. So if the Phillies can finally put it all together, And maybe the Marlins just fall out of the race as the season goes on. But if the Phillies are able to put it all together, then yes, we're going to be talking about another playoff appearance by the Phillies. And now it'll just feel like the Phillies being in the postseason is back to the norm that it was when Chase Utley wasn't in the booth, when Chase Utley wasn't in London, when Chase Utley wasn't in Los Angeles, but when Chase Utley was in Philadelphia helping the Phillies win ball games. That's going to be something that I know a lot of people are excited for, and a lot of people are waiting with bated breath to actually see it all come to fruition. So, yeah, a couple of things stuck out to me over the weekend. One, Bryce Harper really helping the team win. He had been doing it with a 290 batting average pretty much and a 380 on base percentage, but seeing him go yard again, seeing him get 2 clutch hits, not even including the home run for the Phillies, but getting the game-tying hit on Saturday in game 1 of the doubleheader. Getting the game-tying hit in extras yesterday, getting the home run in between those, his first since May 25th. Seeing him get back on track is phenomenal and really drive the ball. Seeing Zach Wheeler with that start was phenomenal. Seeing the bullpen come in and really help you in this series was great as well. But seeing this team continue to fight, you always want to feel like, and I feel like in sports, we talk about this the most in football, you never feel like your team's out of it. You have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, you never feel like your team's out of it. I got to feel like with this lineup, even on a day where the pitching isn't great, you got to feel like this lineup is always going to give you a chance to win. And look at a guy like JT Realmuto, for instance. This is a perfect example. JT Realmuto yesterday, his first 2 at-bats just missed home runs. Now, I'm not talking about they were just a foot short of the wall or whatever. The first one was pretty far out there. The second one, you could tell he was just under, I think, a hanging curveball, and he just got under it. When he stepped to the plate yesterday in that game, his first 2 at-bats was so close. But when he stepped to the plate in yesterday's ball game, right before that 2-run double in the 6th inning, I thought if those first 2 at-bats were an indication of anything, he's going to do something huge here. So he steps to the plate in that 6th inning. He drives the ball to left field. Bryce Harper comes around to score on that play. Trey Turner scores on that play. That was after Harper's double that put Turner on second, and they were laughing about it. But the Phillies at that point go up 4-3, and they take the lead on JT Realmuto's hit. JT Realmuto has had a lot of struggles this year. Talk about ebbs and flows. We went over the 10 game by 10 game analysis where he's not only the best catcher maybe defensively in baseball, but he's the best hitting catcher in baseball, and then he just shuts it down for like 30 days, and he comes back for 10 days and goes down for another 10, comes back for 15, and that's been the season. And you could say that almost about so many different players that there'll be ebbs and flows, but with JT Realmuto, you're used to a little bit more of a sustained success from a guy that's supposed to be BCB, best catcher in baseball. If he can come up with the clutch hits for you and just be a guy that maybe doesn't hit all the time, but when it matters, he's got runners in scoring position, he can drive them in, then all right, we'll rely on that for a guy that's majority a 5th hole or 6th hole hitter in this lineup. But seeing him come up with that big hit yesterday was a great thing. And then Bryson Stott's home run in the 5th inning yesterday, they got the Phillies on the board, made it a 3-1 ball game. Talk about smelling success. Like JT Realmuto in his first 2 at-bats, you could smell it. It's like there's a big hit coming from this guy. There's a big hit coming from this guy in this game. Bryson Stott gets a 3-1 fastball, and he fouls it. He's late on the pitch, and he drives it home run distance, just foul, down the left field line. Later in the at-bat, I think it was the next pitch, I think it's a sinker high in the zone. And I've talked about this before, but good Lord, Bryson Stott gets that high sinker and tomahawks it out of the ballpark down the right field line into the right field seats. You can smell the success with him. And he has just had for himself so far an incredible July. And I want to make sure I get you guys the numbers for him in July because we've talked about Kyle Schwarber in June. By the way, Kyle Schwarber is on pace right now for another 8 home run month. All right, another 8 home run month potentially for Kyle Schwarber. So we always talk about June Schwarber. Well, July Schwarber might be pretty damn good as well. On base percentage is not really there like it is in June so far. And the batting average is not really there so far either. But the power numbers in the instant offense can certainly be there. Bryson Stott on the season, 303 batting average, okay? In the month of July, Bryson Stott, 39 at-bats, 15 hits. I'll do the math for you, don't worry. 385 batting average. in the month of July with a .429 on base percentage. And of course, yesterday it was his first home run of the month. He has been doing something spectacular this month. Very much enjoying the month of July is Bryson Stott. So I'd love to give you those numbers. Now, this brings me to a point of controversy because, we've talked about the fighting Phillies. We've talked about the highlights of yesterday's game. We talked about the weekend, the tiring weekend it was for the Phillies skipper, Rob Thompson. Ladies and gentlemen, this past series with the San Diego Padres was the worst umpired balls and strikes series I have ever seen in my entire life of watching baseball. It wasn't a playoff series. It wasn't a World Series. It wasn't the last series of the season that's trying to get you into the playoffs, which it might come down to for the Phils. It was a regular season series. This was the worst. There's been bad games by umpires behind the plate. I have never seen the collective effort in a horrible balls and strikes series than I saw in this 4-game series against San Diego Padres. I joked about it on social media saying, did the Major League Baseball change the strike zone and only tell this umpiring crew? But it was horrific. And I'm saying this as a guy that's a fan of the team that won 3 games. So I'd like to give a special message. Yesterday on the post-game show, I did a special message to San Diego Padres fans. I'd like to do one right now for this show, okay, for our show, okay? To San Diego Padres fans, we had our fun with you last year, okay, in the NLDS, or NLCS. That was fun, and that's what's in, that's what's in. If you remember that whole thing, okay, we had our fun with that, all right? I'm not going to apologize for that, but I just want to say to San Diego Padres fans, perhaps somebody who is a San Diego Padres fan. There's somebody there, yes, there's some people there yesterday, San Diego Padres fans. San Diego, I love your city. You're a beautiful city. Great times in your city. Very clean, by the way, I want to add. If you're a Padres fan and you happen to catch this show, just know something. You're right. When you're bitching and moaning about the officiating or the umpiring in this series, and especially the balls and strikes above all else, and you lost 3 games of this series and you think the umpiring sucked, just know here in Philadelphia, as winners, we think the umpiring sucked. We think it was terrible. I am saying it is the worst 4-game series I have ever seen, consistently called terribly when it came to balls and strikes. This whole series was the absolute, unquestioned greatest endorsement for robot umpires that I can think of. Angel Hernandez, I used to joke, this guy, he is a walking endorsement for robot umpires. This entire crew that called this series between the Padres and the Phillies absolutely 1,000,000,000%, without a shadow of a doubt, was the best endorsement for robo-umps. And I got to give credit to my friend John Gonzalez here, because John pointed out on social media as well, it's like, if only we had some sort of technology that could maybe call balls and strikes for us to take the human error out of the game. I was laughing. That's a great way to put it. But I got to say this. There are people that really don't. And by the way, for the record here, let's go. Bellino, Cuzzy, and Livenspanger. Sparger. Terrible. Just all of it terrible. And yesterday as well, Baloo. Oh, my goodness gracious, terrible. I could go through some calls, but look, balls were called strikes were called balls, and it was inconsistent. Like, that's the worst part about it, is when you're an umpire, I talk about this a lot, you got to establish the strike zone. It might not be in the box, but if it's a high fastball inside corner and it's a ball in the first inning, then it better be a ball in the 6th inning, and it better be a ball in the 9th inning. That was so erratic throughout this series. So Major League Baseball, I beg you, I'm sure you do a great job of evaluating every umpire. I'm sure you do your due diligence and evaluate how everybody's doing, and you score everybody out. Just pay close attention to this particular series between the Padres and the Phillies. Because as someone who's happy with the outcome, as a Phillies fan, I'm very happy with the outcome. But as a fan of Major League Baseball, you got a problem. And I know there's some people that argue against the umpires, the robo-umps. Oh, I don't want to human. You got to have human error part of the game. Why? If I could eliminate mistakes, why not just do that? I don't know. It's fun to argue balls and strikes. That wasn't fun. I'm not having fun. You know what's fun? Watching a pitcher dominate. You know what's fun? Watching a hitter do his thing. You know, be able to say, oh, that ball's outside. It's not a strike. You know what's not fun? He called it a ball and it was a strike. That's not fun. That's complaining. I don't have fun complaining. I know I do it a lot, but I should enjoy it, but I don't. I don't want human error. Why would I want human error? No thanks. It's fun to argue balls and strikes. I don't think it's fun to argue balls and strikes. You know what is fun? Watching a pitcher paint the corner and get credit for painting the corner. And doing so in a fashion that, by the way, is pinpoint. What would Mona Lisa Vito say? Dead on balls accurate. Like, yeah, they use it in tennis. You watch Wimbledon yesterday at all? You watch the Joker fella? Watch those guys go back and forth? That was pretty amazing. Alcaraz? Yeah. That was an incredible match. They got the pinpoint technology. They can do it with that. Those balls are traveling at 125 miles per hour. They can't do it with a baseball. They're going only 100. I mean, come on. It was god-awful. And in a way, of course, we wanted the Phillies to win. But in a way, I was like really hoping the Phillies would win so I could bitch about the umpiring and have it be credible. Because when you bitch about the umpiring and you're losing, it just sounds like you're a sore loser. But I was like, this is just a great endorsement, a phenomenal endorsement for the Phillies and robo-umps. Pro or con robo-umps, we've talked about it before. I am 1,000 billion% for robo-umpires. By the way, all this Phillies conversation, I really look forward to. The Phillies have an off day, so we have a little shelf life here with the Phils, okay? Phillies have an off day. So, we're going to talk Phillies with a guest for tomorrow's show. I'm going to catch up with Alex Coffey. Now, you guys have heard me talk about Alex Coffey on the show quite a bit. She does a phenomenal job for the Inquirer covering the Phillies. She just absolutely does a wonderful job. She's going to join us. We're going to sit down today at 3 o'clock, and we're going to talk Phillies baseball. We're going to talk about what the future holds for a guy like Andrew Painter. We're going to talk about Christian Pache, what the future holds for him. We're going to talk about the trade deadline. We're going to talk about all things Phillies, and she's going to join us for tomorrow's show, so I really look forward to that. I'll also ask her stance on robo-umpires, and as I said, the trade deadline and what our realistic expectations should be for what the Phillies are going to go after. So Alex Coffey, if you don't follow her on social media, give her a follow. Does a phenomenal job covering the Phillies for the Philadelphia Inquirer, so I look forward to speaking to her. And shout out to Devin Caney, my friend Devin Caney, who is friends with Alex, and she was kind enough to set up the interview for me. Well, give me her number at least. And we kicked it around a bit, and we got a time. We can talk tomorrow or today for tomorrow's show. So I look forward to that. DeAndre Hopkins, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to the NFL. Eagles are going to be reporting to training camp. Beep-o-bop. Let's see here. Next week. I'm very excited for it. DeAndre Hopkins, the story came out yesterday. Diana Rossini saying that the Tennessee Titans are looking to sign. They have agreed to terms for DeAndre Hopkins, the veteran wide receiver, the all-pro wide receiver, to end up in Tennessee. How about that? The Tennessee Titans were once home of a certain Eagles wide receiver named A.J. Brown. And now the Titans got to go after DeAndre Hopkins. Listen to this. I didn't realize this. Now, $15 million is guaranteed in the first year here, okay? With incentives. It can be worth up to $15 million. All right. The Titans' leading receiver in 2022. This is what DeAndre Hopkins is looking to improve upon, okay? The Titans' leading receiver, this is according to ESPN Stats and Info. The Titans' leading receiver in 2022 was Robert Woods. He had 527 receiving yards, and he was cut earlier in the offseason. His 527 yards were the fourth fewest by a team's leading receiver in the last 15 years. Now, I don't know what's possessing DeAndre Hopkins to go to Tennessee. I'm going to go ahead and assume he doesn't want to go to Tennessee. I'm assuming that this is the best offer he got money-wise, and that's where he's going to end up. So he's expected to sign with the Titans and make that official maybe later today. Also, 4 o'clock today is the franchise tag deadline, and apparently Saquon Barkley, And the New York Giants are still very far apart on structuring a deal that satisfies both parties. So I know our crap show in Philadelphia is going to be James Harden. It looks like it could be something similar in New York. And hey, the more dismay, the better in any division rival, for that matter, especially the Cowboys. But in this particular case, right now it looks like the Giants are going to have their hands full with Saquon Barkley and trying to work out something to make the pretty talented running back a happy, talented running back in North Jersey. So I look forward to following that bouncing ball as we are following the James Harden bouncing ball here in Philadelphia. Now, speaking of James Harden, ladies and gentlemen, another report came out on Friday. We've followed the story. We followed the trail. We followed the breadcrumbs. I don't think there's any question about it now. Even if the Sixers don't trade James Harden, and he plays a couple of games in the upcoming season for the Sixers, and I have said throughout this process that I don't think James Harden has played his last game. The scenario I laid out for you guys on Friday, was that James Harden gets traded right before the season. I said, I think the best possible scenario is that the Sixers trade him right before the season. I hope they don't wait for the season to start. If you're asking the prediction is still that he plays a couple more games, a month's worth of games, whatever, for the Sixers before they actually trade him. My desire, what I would ask Daryl Morey to do if he was sitting across from me, would be to hold on to James Harden just before training camp. Just before guys report, just before guys get together, just before you start to build that chemistry for the upcoming 2023-2024 NBA season. You make that trade, you bring in the new talent, and then Nick Nurse has training camp and the rest of the year to figure out the best possible way to organize what will likely be the Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris 76ers. If you pull off a trade that involves James Harden, I think it's going to be the number one guy, obviously, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and Tobias Harris. I think those are going to be your big three. Big three. The version of the Sixers' big three. I would love to see that. I would love to see, because then that really lets and gives Tyrese Maxey the room to grow that we have talked about throughout this entire offseason. That was a scenario I broke out for you guys on Friday. Later that day, or I think it was Saturday actually, Charles Barkley was doing the media circuit, right? And Charles Barkley went out there and said that the best thing Daryl Morey could do is trade James Harden before the season starts. Chuck, Sir Charles, I got to agree with you. I don't think it's a matter of question. And I hate the excuse that gets built in when a team makes a trade late, especially waiting to the trade deadline to make their team better. Especially when it's going to be as an impactful move as trading a guy like James Harden, either adding someone to your starting five or taking away somebody from your starting five. Either adding someone who's going to be the leading assist creator in basketball, like James Harden was last year, leader in assists, or it's going to be bringing in a guy that's just going to help you. Yeah, it's just going to help you. He's going to be a nice guy to have in the starting five. Because Sixers are going to have somebody in the starting five. As much as I like Jaden Springer, I don't think that's going to happen. As much as it might be Smith from Summer League as well, I don't think that's going to happen for starting five. Maybe off the bench, of course, but not starting five. So they're going to have to get somebody to come into the starting five. But bottom line is whoever they're going to get in return for James Harden is not going to be somebody that's going to threaten to lead the league in assists. It's not going to be someone that's going to threaten to lead the league in scoring either. It's going to be a nice piece to have. And that's the unfortunate reality of this situation. Even if Daryl Morey is willing to play that long game, the unfortunate reality of this situation is that if they do trade James Harden, they're not going to get equal or better value. They are simply going to give the opportunity to Tyrese Maxey to take that huge step forward. Assuming Maxey, and I think it's safe to assume at this point, assuming that Maxey is not going to be part of a three-team trade that gets Harden to the Clippers and then something back to Philadelphia that can be equal or better value Dame Lillard. So I don't think that's happening. So with all that being said, I think Chuck is exactly right. You got to make the trade before the season starts. You got to make the trade before you report to training camp. So you have an entire training camp session, training camp period. You have a couple extra weeks to get everybody in order before you roll them out for the regular season. And yeah, there's going to be some learning curve. There's going to be Tyrese Maxey, getting more comfortable, knowing that now, James Harden is not the guy. Joel Embiid the guy, and you're the guy. You're the guy. You are the guys. It's not going to be about anybody else. Focal point, Tyrese Maxey. I think he's up to the challenge. And if you do really force your way out of here, James Harden, if Daryl Morey does pull this off and does get it done, I've used it before, and I'll say it again. We've talked about a year ago. Think of the conversation we were having about Jalen Hurts and whether or not he can really step up and be the guy. Well, of course, with Joel Embiid being here, he's the guy. But you're going to need a guy to be that number 2 guy to the guy. You're going to need, I hate saying it, but it's so true. You're going to need the Robin to Batman. And I think Tyrese Maxey's ready for that challenge. So I look forward to seeing how this all plays out, because I think bottom line is the Sixers are going to have the brighter future. I had this thought with the Sixers. With James Harden staying here in Philadelphia, let's live in this world again for a second. Not going to happen. Let's just live in it. With James Harden here in Philadelphia, what's the 3-year plan with the Sixers? 3-year plan with the Sixers is you wait for James Harden to leave for a year or two. That's the plan. But how's the future look? I still look at it and see a second-round exit. Maybe an Eastern Conference Finals. But with James Harden here, I don't see an NBA Finals. With James Harden here, I don't see an NBA championship within 3 years. With Tyrese Maxey being the number 2 guy to Joel Embiid and this becoming the Maxey Embiid Sixers, right? 3-year window looks pretty bright still, especially if you have that Hertzian leap by Tyrese Maxey. If you have something like that, we could be watching some special basketball in Philadelphia. So that's where we're at right now in the basketball world. Harden definitely wants out, and now we wait to see if the fat suit comes out. I was joking when we had Kai Carlin on, 2 weeks ago now, and he was talking about all the antics Harden does when he tries to get out of a city. He talked about throwing basketballs at teammates. I talked about the alleged fat suit. And then a picture comes out of James Harden out and about. Looking a little chunky. So maybe. Maybe we could be talking about that fat suit again. Anyway. Let me tell you about the great people at Steven Singer Jewelers. The other corner of 8th and Walnut. Right there on Jewelers Row. Join the amazing people. And do what I do, ladies and gentlemen. When it comes to that beautiful piece of jewelry, go to Steven Singer Jewelers at the other corner of 8th and Walnut and trust a real jeweler that'll treat you like a real family member who will give you that perfect price. Now, what's the perfect price? The perfect price is that thing that other jewelers mark way up just to mark it down a couple of bucks in front of you. Oh, there you go. $500 up just because I like it. Well, at Steven Singer Jewelers, it's already knocked down, so you don't got to worry about that negotiating. You don't got to worry about that haggling and that pressure sale. No. No haggle, no pressure sale at the other corner of 8th and Walnut. Online at IHateStevenSinger.com. That's IHateStevenSinger.com. Let me tell you about the amazing people at Manscaped, the leader in below-the-waist grooming. Join 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and their skin-safe technology that helps reduce the risk of nicks, so you can manscape with confidence and comfort. So check out Manscaped at manscaped.com. You'll love their Platinum Package 4.0, which includes their incredible Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, as well as their Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. And yes, they come with skin-safe technology, so you can manscape with that confidence and comfort. So check out Manscaped at manscaped.com. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsNation.com. How about Freestone Farm CBD? You like CBD? You use CBD? How about Freestone Farm CBD at FreestoneFarmCBD.com? You'll love their tropical tasting Bayox that clocks in at a chart-topping 24.1%, and Super CBD, which is half Hindu, Kush, and 21%. Genetics of these guys are off the charts. So try Freestone Farm CBD at FreestoneFarmCBD.com. Let's get into the chat check. Get it started over on the Farzy Show YouTube channel. What's going on, everybody? April. Good morning, April. Sean Kilrain. What's going on? Sean Kilrain. Oh, Marona Mia. Rojas. How do I not even mention Yohan Rojas? How about a day? How about a day? Huh? How about a debut day for the kid? Center field. Makes a great play going to his left, fielding that fly ball, and then throwing it out at first base. Doubling up. How beautiful is that? Welcome to the bigs, kid. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Gets his first hit, gets his RBI, gets his first multi-RBI, gets his first multi-hit game, gets his first stolen base. Kid was all over the place. Rojas kid is going to be special. I hope he's here to stay, but the club might be showcasing his play as a trade piece. Thus far as he had the same thought, Sean. When I saw the AA call up, I went, showcase? Showcase? Christian Pache looks like he's going to be out a couple weeks. So he'll be back. He's young. He's producing. Brandon Marsh, young, producing. Both can play center field. Marsh can play anywhere in the outfield, really. The fact that they put Rojas right there in center, I thought was interesting. So they have depth at that position. So bringing up, a 22-year-old out of AA, my first thought was showcase. And then I saw him make that play in center field in his first put out and outfield assist. I went, he's showcasing to me, and I want him to stay. Forget about showcasing. Just showcase for the fan base that you're going to be playing for the next 15 years. Anyway, Mihai Sanchez. What's up, Mihai Sanchez? How about those fighting Phils? 1 game back first in the wild card. Harper wasn't losing in the 10th. Absolutely not. Hoffman was solid. Soto can go back to Detroit, and I hope Yohan Rojas is the next Shane Victorino. Ring the bell. Ooh, that is some praise. April, strike zone was awful. There was no consistency at all. That was the thing. I was especially watching the first, 1, 2, 3 innings of the game. Each game throughout the entire series, I'd see a high pitch called a strike, and I go, okay, that's a ball, but it's a strike today. And then, if that's a high strike, you can't have a low strike if you have a high strike. You either have a high strike zone or low. You can't have a middling strike zone. And it can't be changing either. That was the thing that was just so bonkers to me. And again, I tweeted it out as side-by-side. It was a ball. Now, I didn't use the hitter. Now, you can tell it's a catcher for the Padres. You can tell it's a Padres uniform catching, so you know who's at the plate. But the Phillies are the Padres. But Derek Hall, in his first at-bat with the bases loaded, by the way, still does not look like he's ready for Major League hitting. Derek Hall took a pitch that was in the inside corner of the box, all the way in it. It was a strike, called a ball. Yohan Rojas goes up there, and on the third pitch of his at-bat, gets that slider that looks like it comes back around, but it's outside. It's outside by, 4 inches. Called a strike. He gets rung up. Phillies lose another opportunity. You have to have some sort of a consistent strike zone here. How can one pitch that's without question in the strike zone be called a ball, and one pitch that's without question outside the strike zone be called a strike? It's just, and this pisses me off. And I remember last year talking about baseball and how they call balls and strikes. It's like, here's a pitch that I look at, and it's a strike 3 called. It's called a ball. Then we immediately go to technology that shows it is a strike. It remains a ball. Baseball. It's like, then what? It doesn't make any damn sense. Sean Kilwright, Helen Keller. Don't do Helen Keller jokes. Don't you invoke Helen Keller. You'll get me in trouble. Mike Fuji. What's up, Fuji? Big shout out to my colleagues. Phillies game day employees for holding it down at the park this weekend. There you go, Fuji. Very nice. What's up, Joe? Joe's joining us in the early mornings here. Seems like JT already thinks there are robo-umps with his lack of framing and giving up on pitches. Joe, I agree with you for the most part. I will say, when was it? Was it yesterday's game? Or was it Saturday night's game? There was one instance, and it was the 9th inning, where JT Realmuto, he waited to the last possible second to argue balls and strikes. But he ended up getting the ball called, or excuse me, the strike called. I think it wasn't Bellino. Was it Cuzzy behind the plate at that point? I'm trying to think of what game it was. But no, I would love to see Realmuto have a couple more conversations with umpires. I don't know why he doesn't do it more often. And yeah, I love a good frame. Love a good frame. Yesterday, during the rain delay, they showed High Hopes, the 1993 Phillies. I think it was the 10-year anniversary of the 93 Phillies. They released High Hopes. And I'm watching Dutch, frame pitches for Larry Anderson and for Tommy Green and those guys. And I'm just like, talking about best catcher in baseball, right? With JT Realmuto and that moniker that gets thrown on him all the time. But Darren Dalton, I remember during that season, I think it was 6ABC, they did a special just on framing pitches. The Phillies were so hot being in the World Series, and they were talking about Darren Dalton just framing pitches beautifully in that series. And even in the NLCS against the Braves, framing pitches, especially for Mitch Williams, and just doing a phenomenal job of it. I'll just say this real quick because they played it during the rain delay. I remember when that DVD came out, my brother's friend, was I in high school? No, I was in college. And my brother's friend got his hands on the DVD. He went to the game, they gave it out or whatever it was. And I remember he came over and we had 10 other people over and we all just watched that documentary from start to finish. And man, watching it again yesterday, seeing Pete Incaviglia, seeing Danny Jackson, seeing all these guys, Milt Thompson, just seeing all the, and then of course the special vitamin Lenny Dykstra and Dutch and Kruk and all those guys. I talked last week about Ken Griffey Jr. when he talked about the home run derby and things that just make me feel like a kid again when I watch sports. Ken Griffey Jr.'s swing and all that, man, just seeing any video of the 93 Phillies, it makes me feel like a kid again. But anyway, Joe, I agree with you. Say all that just to say that I agree with you. What a weekend. You're absolutely right. Sean Gillespie, what's going on, Sean? Don't sign Saquon. Get your money, especially if they paid Daniel Jones. Maurice Walker. What's up, Maurice Walker? Harden made about his money. He took a pay cut. Now he wants his money. Money was in all caps. Yes, he does. Harden then missed out on over $100 million twice. Well, here's the interesting thing. I've talked this season about tangible things, this offseason, right? About what are the Sixers really done? And trying to read the tea leaves of what they've really done. Okay, so Tyrese Maxey not getting a contract extension. What does that mean? That means they want him available in a trade. Bottom line. It might not mean they want to trade him, but if the opportunity presents itself where Dame Lillard comes here, Daryl Morey is going to pull the trigger on that deal. Now, we're still a far cry from that happening, and I hope it doesn't happen. I want to see the maturation process of Tyrese Maxey here in Philadelphia. But James Harden, let's look at something tangible here. Was $35 million the most James Harden was going to get next year, regardless of where he went? Did he overshoot his shot? Did he overreach, thinking that he was going to get some mega huge Kajunga large deal, some ginormous dollar amount from the Houston Rockets? Did he think he was going to get that with the Clippers, who already have Paul George and Kawhi Leonard inked up? I don't think so. So maybe $35 million was just the best possible way for him to get $35 million and opt into that player option just to guarantee himself that money. Now, here's the deal. If James Harden gets traded, there's 15% of guys in the league that get this. He gets a trade bonus of, I believe, $5 million. So if he does opt in and get traded, he has a $40 million deal for at least this season. And then sign a contract extension. This is the best possible way for him to make the most money. Opt in and get traded. Not enough people are talking about that. The opt-in trade clause in the player option for this year for James Harden gets him about $35 million. Then if he gets traded, he gets an additional $5 million on top of that. It's 15% of the deal. So he gets an extra $5 million. So you're looking at a $40 million deal all of a sudden for 1 year of basketball for James Harden, and then whatever deal he signs after that. So maybe when we're talking about the next big contract, we're not even talking about anything close to a $210 million deal over 4 years. But what we are talking about is the potential to make $40 million this year, and then some gravy after that. Maybe some gravy from LA. Who knows? But I don't fault the guy for that, by the way. James Harden took less money, $15 million less, to come back here with the Sixers last year, give them a chance to sign a guy like P.J. Tucker. He did that, then they still fizzled out in the second round of the playoffs. Greg MC, what's up, Greg MC? Phillies have few solid outfielders coming through the farm, so it'll be interesting to see what they do with Rojas Indeed. I agree. Mally, what's up, Mally? Morning, smoke him if you got him. Back at you. I had a cigar last night. You might be able to hear it in my voice. Anyway, It's a long weekend of baseball, so I earned a cigar. April, hello. Fuji, what's going on? April, happy anniversary. What? What did I miss? No, this is your anniversary, April? Happy anniversary. Mally, Mark, PJ, Chatters, missed y'all. Mark, camera, too close. Can't see the stunning neckline. Oh, why, thank you. Wow. Ladies, or in this case, Mally, what's up? Strike zone, all series, all over the place. I agree. April, they had Mickey Mantle mic'd up last night. Mickey Mantle, jeez, Mickey Moniak. Sorry, they had Sean Gillespie. Ew, yeah, Miss Guzzi. April, they had Mickey Moniak mic'd up last night. It made me miss him in the outfield. April, yeah. I didn't see Mickey Moniak mic'd up. It's worth going back and checking out. Look, Mickey Moniak got a lot of flack in Philly when he said he never really got an opportunity in Philly. I agreed with him. Like, did he play? Yes, he played. Did he play like Bryson Stott played? Was he given the wiggle room that Bryson Stott was given? Absolutely not. And now Mickey Moniak's out there in L.A. with the Angels having himself a time. I know he was 2 weeks ago was the last I probably looked at his numbers. 2 weeks ago, he was incredible. It was like hitting the ball out of the park, doing absolutely an amazing job. Yesterday, they lost to the Astros 9-8. Where's Moniak at? Jeez, yeah, he's still hitting 326. 326, 10 home runs. Holy Stromboli. Yeah, he's still mashing. I said it. I said it at the time. I'll say it again. Logan O'Hoppe, who was also starting out the season really well before he got hurt. Logan O'Hoppe was the Marsh trade. Mickey Moniak was Noah Syndergaard. A rental. An open, not even a starting pitcher anymore. An opener. And it was a rental. You made it to the World Series, but it was a rental. Mickey, how old are you now? 25. You just turned 25. Wasn't the boss's guy. Wasn't the boss's pick. He was Rube's pick. He's Ruben Amaro Jr.'s pick. He wasn't the Andy McPhail fella's pick. He wasn't the Matt Klentak's fella's pick. He wasn't Dave Dombrowski's pick. Mickey Moniak, deuces. Now, you could also say that it was just never going to work out here in Philadelphia. He needed to go to California. PJ, you and I have talked about that. He's a California kid. 3-hour time difference really does a lot for his personality and batting average and power, evidently. But I'll go back. Hopefully that's that mic'd up things on YouTube, and I'll check that out. Oh, he spoke well of the Phillies? That's nice. A Philly-rated Poppy. What's happening? Flock of Eagles about to make their way to the city of brotherly love. Can't wait for it. Can't wait for it. I look, leading up to it, and later this week, we're going to do some training camp specials and what to look for, and birds we're really keeping an eye on and all that. But overall, I'm just amped, and I can't wait to watch Jalen Hurts play football again. I can't wait to savor this year in what could really be the last year of Jason Kelce. I'm very excited to see what this defense does. I'm very excited to watch Nakobe Dean and what he brings. Just the first things that jump out at me. I'm also very curious to see how your new coordinators are calling plays on both sides of the football, whether that be Brian Johnson, whether it be Sean Desai. I'm very curious to see how they take over because, look, whatever you say about Jonathan Gannon, they made it to a Super Bowl. He was defensive coordinator. They got to the Super Bowl and wet the bed much? Or the field because it was slippery, get it? Anyway. And this offense was clicking. Absolutely clicking with Shane Steichen calling plays. See if Brian Johnson can keep it up. The biggest concern I have going into it is how the new assistant coaches, how the new offenses and defensive coordinators handle the business. I don't know anything about Sean Desai. I liked his press conference. That doesn't really say a lot. But anyway, I'm very excited to see where the season goes. Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are great. As well, Mally, if Mickey Mantle was on the mic, this episode got a lot of I agree. I wasn't sure if it was an old Mickey Mantle piece. But yes, if Mickey Mantle was mic'd up now, that would be interesting. Anyway, thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. Looking over at Jacob Media, SSG base or bass. I don't know. Are we in on Ohtani? Yes. The Eagles. The Phillies are going to be kicking the tires, whether it's Middleman or Middleton or the Buck cousin, the Buck family that still have an ownership stake, or Pat Gillick who has an ownership stake, or the Montgomerys that have an ownership stake. They're going to be in on Ohtani. I don't know if they're going to get him. I don't think they will. But they're going to be in. They're going to be kicking the tires. They're going to be sniffing around. They're going to be doing their due diligence. And wow, how great would that be? That'd be incredible. Thanks, everybody. You guys are fantastic. Even if it's for the rental, even if they're trading their outfield prospects to bring in Ohtani, that would be something else. That's 2 birds, 1 stone right there. That's a pitcher and a hitter. There you go, as you guys know. Thanks to everybody in the chat. You guys are great, as per usual. Phillies with the off day today. They'll be back at it tomorrow to start up a 3-game series with the Brew Crew. And Alex Coffey will be joining us from the Inquirer for tomorrow's show. Look forward to that conversation and playing that for you guys tomorrow morning as well. 4 o'clock deadline for franchise tags in the NFL. So we can check that out as well. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you guys hit like, subscribe on YouTube, whether it's the Farzy Show channel or Jacob Media channel. Also, make sure you guys hit us up and download us for the podcast as well. Again, podcast numbers have been doing well, so appreciate you guys over there. For the people on the podcast, thank you so much. Until then, with the off day, enjoy the off day of baseball. Go out, have a date night, have an anniversary, April. Happy anniversary to you. Everybody, talk to you guys tomorrow. Thanks all. Jim Heidenproof's program did a wonderful job as per usual. My name is Mark Farzy. This is the Farzy Show presented by Steven Singer of Steven Singer Jewelers. Catch you guys tomorrow. Bye.